meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Council's YouTube channel. May I remind members that the Code of Conduct applies throughout this meeting. We also reserve the right to remove and disconnect any participant who is disrupting the meeting by whatever means. Please turn any telephone devices off or to silent. If you wish to comment, please raise your electronic hand and wait to be called. We will now start the meeting by doing a roll call of working panel meetings here present and any declarations of interest. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you. Councillor Bonetta, please.
Present.
Thank you. Do you have any declarations, Councillor Bonetta, please?
No declarations.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chapman is not with us. Councillor Goodman, please.
Yes, I'm here. No declaration of interest.
Thank you.
If something does come up, then I'll then say, because I never know what might come up.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor King is not with us. Councillor Martin. Councillor Rickson, please.
Present and no declarations.
Thank you. And Councillor Smith and Councillor Wragg are not with us. And I can confirm that we're quorum chair and we have apologies from Councillor Ledger and Councillor Arnott.
Right, moving on to agenda item 2, minutes of the previous meeting. If there are any members with any comment on the minutes, please raise your electronic hand. If there are no issues, I'll assume that you're all content that they are agreed. I can't see any hands raised. Okay, so we'll move on in that case to item 4, which is public speaking. There are no public speakers. Item 5, update on anti-poverty financial resilience outcomes for 24-25 to include details on pension credit take-up figures, case studies, funding deployed, etc. So I'll now hand over to, I'm not sure whether it's Libby or Sharon.
It's myself, Sharon. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to try and present in Teams. Just bear with me a second while it loads. Right. Can everybody see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so good morning, everyone. So the presentation this morning is to give you an update on the work of the financial resilience team for 2024-25, and it's going to cover details on the funding administered for the Household Support Fund 5 and 6, the financial resilience team outcomes, including some case studies and details of the work the team have been doing out in the community, outcomes of the pension credit take-up campaign we carried out last winter in response to the removal of the winter fuel allowance for those not on pension credit. And lastly, an update on where we are with administering the Household Support Fund 7. So starting with the Household Support Fund, we had 2 schemes during that year, Household Support Fund 5 and Household Support Fund 6, with a total budget of just over 704,000 to administer to households in need. As per our policy, we split the funding with the bulk going towards the targeted support and a smaller proportion of the funding being available for open applications. The table here is a reminder of the household groups that we targeted support to. So Household Support Fund 5 had a total payment of £230. That was split into 2. Household Support Fund 6 had different amounts of payments, which were £230 to the pension age residents who lost their winter fuel allowance and hadn't received a payment from Household Support Fund 5. And £100 extra for pension age residents who had received a Household Support Fund 5 payment in September. And we also did a payment of £150 to households with a disabled carer, a care leaver, or a previous serving member of the Armed Forces resident, and £80 to single parents not in one of the above groups. So our total spend for our targeted support for both schemes came in at £609,760. So for our open applications, we made 772 awards with a total spend of £109,806, sorry, and the average award was £142 per household. We had 81% of our households who received an award were single, with 44% of those 626 going to single parents. And of the 772 cases, 440 completed our monitoring questions that's on our form, and that data shows we helped another 292 disabled households, 126 carers, 30 pension age residents, and 22 previous serving members of the armed forces. And as the vast majority of households requesting our financial support through the open applications were single residents, we tried to address some of that need through the Household Support Fund 7, which is covered a bit later on. So the majority of awards were made to help with food, 649 awards made totaling just over £89,000. 78 households were helped with energy and water costs, and the 16 awards made that were essentials linked to energy and water were providing financial support for items such as carpets and white goods. And that's through the partnership working we do with Exeter Community Energy Advice and private sector housing. And of the open application requests made from an award from the Household Support Fund, 102 cases were referred to the Financial Resilience team for more in-depth work. And we still have 54 cases that continue to be open and that the team are continuing to work with. So of the cases the team have been looking at, the majority approached for help as they couldn't afford food, and that was followed by those who felt they couldn't afford their housing. 45 of the cases, so nearly half, are households where there's a disabled resident present in the property, and 21, so 20% have carers resident. We are still dealing with cases, so we haven't established what officers believe to be the root cause for people experiencing financial hardship, but of those we have completed work on, the leading reason today is mental health, and that's followed by physical health. So during the year, we received 20 referrals into the team from partners and external organisations, and the majority of those came from teams within housing. The team have referred 73 cases out to partners for further wraparound support, and the majority of those go to Exeter Community Energy Advice, who do the work to help bring down energy costs for households. And that was followed by Citizens Advice East Devon, and that's mainly for debt advice and help completing welfare benefit applications and requests for mandatory reconsiderations for welfare benefits administered by the Department for Works and Pensions. I'm sorry, excuse me. And the team have also made use of discretionary funding available and supported 28 households with discretionary housing payment totaling just over £26,000, an exceptional hardship for council tax of £4,763 to 26 households, which has helped to reduce their council tax arrears. So as mentioned, we are still working on some cases, so we don't have outcomes for all of them. And of the 48 cases that we have finalised our work on, there are still some cases awaiting outcomes from our partners. And as with the 8 cases who stopped engaging with us, sometimes residents stop engaging with partners as well, or the work required may take time to complete. So there will be a delay in us receiving those outcomes back. But of the 48 cases, we have 28 outcomes and non-engagement. So we've recorded outcomes for 58% of those 102, of those 48, sorry. And of the 20 financial outcomes we do have, we have outgoings for 18 households who've had a reduced outgoings by an average of £19.30 a week. Income has increased by £138 per week, and overall 20 households are on average £142.36 per week better off, which equates to £8,306 a year. So I've just got a couple of case studies for you. First was a single gentleman coming up to pension age who has mental health issues. He was referred into the team from another department as he wasn't managing his home, his health or his bills. He did have limited help from some friends, but they lived in another town and they found it difficult to get to see him, as they were also a low-income household who relied on public transport, so found they would have to walk to see him. Safeguarding referral was done, and a social worker has now been assigned to the gentleman. The team's been working with repairs and estate management, and he's going to be decanted whilst work is carried out on his property. We made a food bank referral, which ended up providing him with blankets and socks for him, which he was most grateful for and really happy with. The team have also been working with the vulnerable lead in the job centre to make sure his universal credit claim is not stopped and he's receiving the full amount he's entitled to from the disabled elements. We also help support him to make a claim for council tax reduction, and I'm working with the council tax team to deal with his council tax arrears due to his vulnerabilities. We still have a bit of work left to finish with him, and we'll be referring him to Citizens Advice East Devon to help with his disability claim, and also we're going to be working with South West Water, their vulnerable team who we have a partnership with, and also his energy company to help sort out his water and energy debts. And we've not finished those bits yet because he's a gentleman that finds it hard to deal with too much at the same time, so we have to work quite slowly with him. So our second case study is a pension age resident again who approached us for help as he couldn't afford to buy food, and this gentleman took us a number of attempts at contacting him before he would engage with the team. So the team completed the income and expenditure form and requested his bank statements, which showed excessive spending at a local supermarket. They also worked closely with his housing officer as he had rent arrears and there was an eviction pending. So the housing team were able to put that on hold to allow the work to take place. And they also made a safeguarding referral due to him not eating and not looking after himself. And on a joint visit that the financial resilience team with the housing officer, it became apparent that there was another person who had access to his bank card, and that was where the excessive spending at the supermarket was coming from, and the reason that he was unable to buy his food. So the safeguarding referral was updated and a social worker has now been allocated to him, and Christians Against Poverty are also going to be working with him to help deal with other debts he's accrued, and are going to be visiting him regularly to check everything continues to be okay. And the housing and financial resilience team also managed to work together to clear the rent arrears for him, and a new tenancy agreement's now been signed, meaning he gets to stay in the property. And again, it's another case that's still continuing. We are still going to be working with Christians Against Poverty to go through the rest of his outstanding bills. But the main win to date is that he's no longer reliant on the food bank, as he's got the money he needs to buy his food himself. So I wanted to kind of highlight these case studies with you because they really show some of the complexity of the cases that officers are dealing with, and how solving those root causes. It needs a collaborative approach across departments and different organisations to help achieve the outcomes for our residents. So alongside the individual casework the team do, they also attend community events and carry out project work. They completed 12 public community events where they have a stand to let others know about the team. They attended 26 professional networking events and meetings where organisations work collaboratively on cases, and some of those meetings included presentations from the team to raise awareness of the work they do. And they also attended 44 regular community drop-in sessions, and they're in locations such as food banks and Open Door. And at those sessions, they regularly pick up the new cases that wouldn't otherwise approach us directly. And last year, that was a total of 81 residents. So across the year, the team on average were out in the community about twice a week. Okay, and moving on to the pension credit take-up, the team also carried out 19 community engagement sessions during November and December 24, and that's in addition to those on the previous slide. And those sessions were across the district, so including rural areas such as Dunkeswell, Newton Poppleford and Branscombe. And we also worked with Citizens Advice East Devon to make sure we could cover as many locations across East Devon as possible. And Citizens Advice provided support to help residents complete their pension credit applications when they needed. We did see a take-up in the number of residents claiming benefits with us, as did the pension service. And for April to November 24, before we started the take-up campaign, our pension age CTR caseload was relatively stable at around 3,450. And then during and after that campaign, we started to see a steady rise between November and March 25 to 3,613. And our current caseload as at November is currently at 4,052, which is an increase of 602 claims, so about a 17% increase. And we are continuing to ensure we out there notifying as many pension age residents as possible about the support they could be entitled to. And then lastly, to update you on our Household Support Fund 7, we were given just under 454,000 to administer. For targeted support, we're awarding a one-off payment of £120, and that's to households who are working age, receiving housing benefit and or council tax reduction, who've got under £3,000 in capital, and someone in the household is disabled, a carer, a care leaver, or a previous serving member of the armed forces, or households that our records show the household income is less than the amount stated in the standard financial statement spending guidelines, and that will hopefully help some of those single household residents that we mentioned earlier who otherwise come to us through the open application process. And our letters were being sent out at the end of last week, so they should be received by households over the next few days, and the money should be going out to them soon. So I think that's it for the update for the financial resilience team, and happy to take any questions. Thank you. I'm going to try and stop sharing. There we go. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that very comprehensive report. Is there anyone who's a non-member who wishes to speak about this? Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, Chair. Just wondered, how long do we have records going back, especially on the difference between the physical and mental health of the people? I noticed it was much higher on the mental health now. I just wonder how that's changed over the years. And how many people are on your team, please?
So our records, we did start in 2021, but we had I don't know if members remember, our data analyst left, and then we had some issues with our dashboard that we were we might have shown you things from that before previously, and then we couldn't for a while because it didn't work properly, and we didn't have a data analyst to resolve that. So I won't have complete records for the whole time at the moment, but we have collected that data, so we can get back, but we just need to analyze that further. And our team has got 3 financial resilience officers, and they are all full-time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who's a member of the committee who would like to make a comment?
Yes, please.
Councillor Goodman.
Thank you. Sorry, my camera for some reason's not working. Sharon, thank you for that as always. A couple of questions. The 17% on the pension increase of people wanting help, was that what you would have expected, and is that the norm across Devon? I don't know if you've done any work across Devon, or if because we have more people that have pension age, is that 70% therefore higher? And the second thing is overall, and forgive me if it's in your figures, are you seeing an increase in the need of your services? And if that is the case, is that because of the good work you're doing in promoting what you're doing, or is that just life at the moment? People are still struggling.
So our caseload stayed relatively stable around that 3,400. I mean, we'd actually seen a drop for quite for a few, I think about a year or so, and it was reducing, and then it kind of stayed stable for quite a while. So that the increase went as once we'd done the Take Up campaign. And it started happening gradually, and then over from November right up to date, it's just gradually grown. I don't know about what that's looking like across the other Devon authorities. I hadn't done that analysis yet.
Sorry.
So
Okay.
sorry, I can't answer that one, but
Yeah, it's fine.
Sorry, could you repeat your second question? Sorry. I can't
You know,
remember,
the
sorry.
first question was obviously about the pension, and
Yeah.
the 17% increase was at the norm. The second was overall with the people you're helping. Are you helping more overall now? And if so, is that because you're promoting the work you're doing, or is it basically people still need help?
So I think we're still picking up cases. We're not as many. So when we first started, we got lots and lots of cases, and I think we did quite a lot of work over the years. But the cases we're seeing now is steady coming in, and they're more complex. There's a lot more stuff coming from social workers, and as we get out more. So we might find a new voluntary group for example, or I think Tidbury Food Bank has approached us, and they want us to go and do some more sessions because they're seeing a bigger need of people. So when you go and talk to a community group, they often then start finding people that would benefit from your support. So I think that depends on whether you go and advertise to a new group that can then drive up cases.
Which isn't a bad thing, is it really? Because
No.
if you're hitting those people that need help, that's really what we're there for to do.
Yes, but we only are a team of 3, so we can become limited to what we can deliver for people.
Okay. Councillor Smith, I think you have a question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just building on what Sharon was saying, I think you're amazing as a team of 3. I think that's awesome. You did have a 4th member. Will you be returning to that number? Are you hoping to return to that slightly bigger number at some point? And I was just going to say about the ability working with multi-agency. We have the pleasure of working with one of your resilience team members. She comes fortnightly to our parent check-ins, which is great. And what it means is, I just wanted to share it with the panel, that it means that we can get to people sooner, so we can stop them getting into crisis point, because as soon as they get to crisis point, not only do they need more support, but the type of support they need is more intense and resource heavy. So being a bit further up the chain really helps everybody involved, including EDDC. And I think the other thing to note, and many people don't necessarily realise this unless you've had to go through this process, which is the tranches of money for the Household Support Fund are given to Devon County Council as well, but their turnaround time is huge. So EDDC's turnaround time for an applicant is within a couple of days, and that support can be given when it's needed, whereas the DCC support is a lot more truncated, and they don't have the dedicated team to necessarily look over those applications as quickly. So therefore, you kind of have to use that resource a bit differently from the way that we do at EDDC. So I thought that was quite useful. I'd be interested, Sharon, just to hear about whether you are hopeful that you might get an additional team member again.
Yeah, Libby, is that something you'd like to?
Yeah, no, I'm happy. We're not actually going to. We're using that post to bring in some management support, along with a bit of a restructure that's going on within the service, to help with, because obviously we've taken on community grants within the service, and so we need some sort of management to help with that, because there's just obviously Sharon has also got benefits and other areas of council business, so we're looking at strengthening it in that way. So it's not going, it's just having a wider there's a wider remit with the community grants as well. And also, which Sharon will touch on, we've got the Crisis Resilience Fund that's replacing Household Support Fund. And that approach is all about, and I don't want to steal Sharon's thunder around that, but it is all around that collaborative working and about that prevention and addressing root causes, which very much is the way we've set up that financial resilience team. So it very much plays into the way we're currently working. But yeah, that's hopefully that answers that, and we're hoping to get that recruitment sorted by the new year.
Thank you, Libby. I've got one question of my own, which relates to case number 2, which relates to financial abuse. Does this gentleman get any financial redress? Is there any way that the person who's been taking the money under false pretenses is pursued for the money? And is this practice common?
So it's quite a difficult case, and I think in this instance there probably won't be anything going on, anything further, and I can't really say too much about that specific case at the moment. So, but
does this happen quite often with financial abuse?
We can see that happen quite a bit. We've come across not a mass of cases, but there are cases, especially with vulnerable people, where money is being people have access to cards, and that can be friends, members in their household. So it can range, and sometimes people aren't always aware that that's what it is. So yeah, it can be out there. And where required, we do work with the other agencies, and sometimes the police might become involved. It depends on what's going on with the case and who's involved.
Thank you very much, Sharon. In the absence of any other comments, shall we move on to the next item? But thank you very much indeed for that report. It's quite distressing to see what's happening to people, really. Right. 6, which is briefing on the HSF 7 and Crisis Resilience Fund. Is this Libby or Sharon?
It's me again. Sorry. Sorry. Right, I've got a slide just to give you some ideas. 2 secs. Hopefully this is going to work. Oh, hang on. I don't know why it's gone back there. So, oh, hang on. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I should have pressed resume. I'm not used to presenting on the Teams like this. Sorry. 2 seconds. I do apologise. I've got to go through my. I'm not almost there. Sorry. Here we go. Right. Okay. So very short update for you on the new funding. You might be aware that the government announced a new Crisis Resilience Fund in June 25 as part of their spending review. And this funding is going to replace the Household Support Fund and discretionary housing payments from April 26 by merging them into one pot. And while we're still waiting for the final guidance, we have been told that all the funding will go to the upper tier authorities from 2028. But until then, the lower tier districts are going to continue to receive what would have been allocated for discretionary housing payments. And the upper tier will receive what would have been Household Support Fund. So in effect, it's while there's a branding change, the actual allocations of money are going to stay as they are. The new fund's going to have a focus on prevention and collaborative working, and also it's going to focus on supporting the VCSE to provide wraparound support services, and moving away from areas like providing food vouchers during the school holidays for those receiving free school meals. So there will be more money available to get out to households in need. The DWP have told us they want to see outcomes of how that funding's been spent as normal, but they've added in that they also want results of what the funding's achieved. So we don't have details of those outcomes yet, but they've given us some examples, and they're looking at things such as the need for food banks being reduced. So they want much more tangible outcomes for this new fund. And that's something we're going to have to work on to work out how we can provide those outcomes once the guidance is released. We are working with Devon County Council and the other districts and city councils, as we normally do, to agree an approach. But given the work that we've been doing over the last 4 to 5 years, we are in a really good place, as we've already set up in the way that the DWP have suggested that they want authorities to deliver this funding. So although there's big changes, overall for East Devon, they appear to be quite minimal for us at the moment. I'll be able to, of course, provide you an update, the panel, once we know more and are more aware of what's required, but we've envisaged that we'll be able to continue to carry on building or up our partnerships and how we've been working to date. And that's really all I have at the moment on the fund. Like I say, we're still waiting for the guidance, and hopefully the DWP will get that out to us soon, and then I can provide some further information. So happy to answer any questions if you do have any on that one.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharon.
Okay.
Do we have any comments from outside or questions from outside the committee? No. Anybody who's a member of the committee would like to speak? No, it looks like this is just thank you very much in that case, Sharon. And this is obviously to be noted. It's obviously a work in progress.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens next year. So we'll move on now to agenda item 7, which is the community grant scheme. Is this Libby or Sharon?
Me again. Sorry, got the whole meeting in me. Sorry. Right, I will try and get this slide right this time. Right, let's resume. Okay, there we go. Okay, right, so the community grant scheme. So as members might remember, at the beginning of the year, we had the voluntary sector thank you event. And as part of the work preparing for that, we identified we needed to renew the community grant scheme policy so that we could make funding available to the voluntary sector. Funding is going to be administered by officers who help support the financial resilience team, and they've delivered a lot of the grant schemes that we had during COVID, and now administer the household support fund payments. We know how important the funding is to the voluntary sector, who do a lot of great work in helping support residents, and we wanted to make sure that that new policy would work for them, especially with the changes coming around the new Crisis Resilience Fund. So over this year, we've worked to develop a new policy with input from the voluntary sector, other authorities, internal teams, and the community grant panel to develop a policy that's going to meet the needs of the voluntary sector. And that policy was agreed at Cabinet on the 28th of October. Total funding available is 204,000 with 102,000 available for this financial year, and then 102 for 26-27. We have built in the ability for a third year if it's needed, and funding can be sourced. And there are going to be two parts to the grant scheme. So we've got small community grants of £300 to £1,500 and £500 to £10,000 for community buildings in our rural areas. We have been told that there's likely to be a high demand on the fund, especially for our first round. And applications are going to be administered by officers who'll prepare all the paperwork and reports for the community grant panel to look at decisions. We will be providing an annual report on where the grants have been given, and part of that, the grant agreements will be for those who've received a grant to provide outcomes of their projects, which will help feed into the reports. And although the grant's very much about supporting the voluntary sector across a number of areas that link to our council plan, we will be looking to update members of the poverty panel, especially around the areas where those outcomes have a direct outcome and impact on the anti-poverty strategy work that's ongoing. And the application form, it's now with our developer in Strata, which will be ready for testing. The voluntary sector are going to help test that form as well to make sure it works for them. And we're looking to probably go live now, probably just after Christmas when we return, just so that we're available to help with any queries that organisations may have. Because otherwise, you know, there won't be anyone here to answer those. And I think that covers everything from me. But Libby, do you want to add anything further on that? Okay. I think that's everything then.
Okay, in that case, do any non-members wish to comment or raise any questions? Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, you said about the first tranche coming up. How much is in the first tranche? When's going to be the cut-off date for the first tranche? When will the decisions be made? Yeah, I think that's it.
So it'd be 102,000 for the first. So we split that between this year and next year. We've got to book in the community grant panel, because they'll be hearing some of those applications in person. So I think we've looked at a few dates. Democratic Services will look to book those in because they need to be held in person. And we'll have a grant window. So before Christmas, we'll be setting everything ready so that everything's ready to go and doing some comms and probably we'll be setting that grant window before Christmas so that we can line up the community grant panel to hear the cases and make the final decisions. I'm not sure how long that window will be just yet. Sorry.
Well, I just wondered when do you hope you're going to actually make the decision on the grant? So we'll be talking March next year, because obviously it's not going live till the new year. So we're talking sort of March, April, before then.
It will probably be end of February, beginning of March time, because we've got to get the reports written and submitted to the community grant panel. But the money needs to be awarded before the end of the financial year.
Thank you.
Okay. Are any members of the committee wanting to make any comments or ask any questions? Councillor Smith, I think you were first.
Yeah, it's worth just saying, as being on the community grants panel, I think if anybody's thinking about organisations that don't have their own constitution, I think it was agreed that those organisations could go through DCT, Devon Community Together, to access this grant. And there was a certain threshold. I think we agreed that if the reports would be brought to the panel at a certain threshold as well. I think that's correct, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's right. That's fine. I was just checking it hadn't changed. Just in the.
No, it hasn't. No.
Thank you. Councillor Goodman.
Yes, I think this is the time I need to declare a non-pecuniary interest, because I will be applying for a grant for the Sidmouth Christmas appeal, and I've did application a couple of years ago for it, and I think really I ought to declare a non-pecuniary interest. I just want to say that it's not just the fund that's helpful, it's also Sharon and Sharon's staff, because when you think you've got something that would benefit from a grant, they really do take you through it, and they do help you understand whether you should apply or not. And I just want to give credit to a team who I found it been invaluable in the 3 years I've been running the Sidmouth Christmas appeal. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that update, Mike. I wasn't aware of the Christmas appeal. Are there any other comments or questions? Well, thank you very much. In that case, I think this brings our meeting to a close, and I would just like to thank everyone for participating. Thank you very much.
And well done. Cheers.
Thank you, Karen.